Alrighty, howdy and welcome back. So in the last video, we briefly went over, I guess, one step in the process in the right direction to actually recover from formatting read errors when we're using the extraction operators. So in this lesson, we'll go ahead and finish that up with adding in additional information on, okay, last video we saw clear simply resets the state of the stream. How do we actually release that character that's latched onto the extraction operator or extraction arm? And we'll go ahead and show how to ignore that here. So same exact setup as before, just we've added in this ifs.ignore. One thing that I'd like to point out is that this isn't kind of a one solution to all problems. If a read fails, it's going to be kind of application dependent on what you want to do. In this kind of little toy problem, I'm simply saying that in the case that a read fails, I'm going to simply skip over one character, reset the stream, and continue reading as if nothing happened. And we'll see here that if we do want to kind of continue reading from the file, we can craft this ignore function in a variety of different ways to essentially accommodate different means of ignoring characters. For instance, as we'll see as written, it will simply jump over one. Well, I could have ignored everything to say the next white space, the next tab, the next semicolon, whatever it is you like, you can write this equivalently. Or you could say exactly 5 characters. Maybe you're expecting that. Who knows? But again, don't just copy and paste this into your program. Think about what should happen, what we should ignore, and thus when we should begin reading again. So let's run through the same setup as before. We're reading in 1. That is going to succeed. Value will take on 1. We hit the white space, so we know, okay, we're done reading. We'll print 1 out to standard out. Okay, 2 is under evaluation now, meets the format we're expecting. Boom into value. Continue moving on. We're going to output that. Great, we have 1 and 2 written out. Next step. Okay, now we have the mismatch. We're expecting an integer, and we got a character A. So in this case, that read is going to fail. In this case, immediately after this statement, this is the state of our stream. We're no longer good, and fail is evaluating to true. When we hit that statement, well, fail is true, so we're going to get into this block of code. And let's see what happens. First thing, we're resetting the state of the stream. So ifs.clear is simply returning the state of the stream back to good. Notice clear is not ignoring any characters. All it is doing is resetting the flags on the stream. What we're going to see here is that ignore is actually going to allow us to release whatever's our extraction operator, extraction arm, however you want to think about it, is latched onto. In this case, it's still, after we've hit clear, it's still holding A in its arm. And we're going to say, okay, you can let that flow by you or ignore it, and we'll go ahead and move on and attempt to read something else. So ifs.ignore, you could have been, if we're reading from standard input, cn.ignore. The first argument is going to be the number of characters to ignore up until some sort of breakpoint. So it's kind of whatever is encountered first. If we're either going to skip 1 character, or if that was 1,000, let's say, if it was 100, comma, maybe a white space, we simply would stop ignoring when either we've seen 1,000 characters or if we've observed a white space, or in this case, a line break. So notice I'm trying to highlight this relationship here. I'm going ignore is going to ignore exactly 1 character, which is what is currently latched on. I could have said 3, I could have said until the next white space, whatever. And that would have ignored not only the character I'm latched onto, but the subsequent characters until my requirement is satisfied, we could say. So at this point, notice that the A was released. The stream is back into a good state. And the other thing to highlight is that in this particular code, I am only going to deal with a red character or red object, let's call it, if the read was successful. So notice here, I'm not like printing out the zero value of value. Instead, I'm checking if that read succeeded or if it failed in this case. If it failed, I'll clear, I'll ignore, and I'll move on to the next one. And I will only deal with whatever it is that I read, only if that read succeeded. Okay, and there's a lot of, for instance, the Mountain Pass MP, if there is some sort of character data within it, you don't want to deal, I believe we ask you to ignore it. Do reflect on the prompts. I've been through many iterations of that assignment. But again, the idea is we only want to do something if we receive valid data. So don't like interact with value if the read failed and you're now interacting with the zero value of the type or the previous value, whatever was stored within that object that you're attempting to read into. So moving forward, we see we're now at the white space. Our extraction operator ignores that. We jump over to 3. We attempt to read that as an integer. You know what? The formats match. So this read succeeds. This is not executed. Instead, the else condition is, because that read will succeed, and we'll print out 3 to standard output. And at this point, what's going to happen is we'll jump back in because we're using good, but essentially we'll attempt another read. That read will fail because the contents of our input file stream is empty. And then what's essentially going to happen at that point is we'll go ahead and move on, and we'll be outside of this block of code here. So we'll go ahead and move on to kind of our more formal discussion here, and then we'll close out the lesson. And I guess I'll point out one other thing. That was my slight pause. You're probably going, okay, well, we read the last thing in the file. The state of the stream is, okay, good. So we attempt another read, and then at that point, there's nothing there. So I assume that read would fail, but I'm resetting the flags. Why is this not getting into an infinite loop? The stream will not evaluate to good if we're at the end of the file. So in that case, we jump out and we pick up where we left off here. So we'll go ahead and continue on.